there's some kind of physical violence.
There is one.
This is an unlawful assembly. You must leave the area. They always want to provide exit routes for these protesters to leave. Very likely that is to the south, possibly to the west. But going north into the east, back towards City Hall, is not going to be an option for anyone who wants to leave this afternoon.
And that's the moment, as you're speaking here, Mark, they are pushing forward there towards the protesters that do remain right in front of City Hall, using more, some of those less than lethals right there. And I'm sure some of those flashbangs.
And, you know, we do want to get out to our...
On a Sunday evening, thank you for joining us. It's David Dutton in the Command Center here in Atlanta with Channel 1 America continuing coverage of breaking news and severe weather. We have a severe thunderstorm warning for Butts, Lamar, Monroe, Pike, and Spalding counties for about another 30 minutes. The parade in Washington went off with a bang. No major issues there. We continue to follow the situation in Israel and Iran. And continuing the very latest, a man that shot Senator in Maryland. Minnesota, excuse me. We're back now live, continuing coverage as Los Angeles. Stay with on breaking news. One.
All day.
And we have a new tornado warning just coming in now in Oklahoma for Blaine, Caddo, Custer, and Ouachita counties. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 6 miles south of Hydro, moving south at 15. Again, a tornado warning for Oklahoma's Blaine, Caddo, Custer, and Ouachita counties for the next 30 minutes. If you're in this area, get to the basement now or send a part of your house away from windows.
But that doesn't mean you can't read between the lines.
We're not going to kneel over and take this stuff. This is what defines us as a generation, as a people.
As most here are upset about President Trump and his policies, challenging what they hold dear.
Most immediately is the federal thugs who are coming in and ripping people off of the street.
After more than a week of raids and detentions involving Los Angeles' immigrant community, many here have simply had enough.
We all come from immigrants, especially our friends and family are surrounding us right now, and so we just want to show support.
A heavy military and police presence on every corner, unnerving for some in its appearance, and more so in concept.
We've got the National Guard at the VA, right? We've got military here. It's clearly an antagonizing tactic.
From a Republican Party known for states' rights, many here feel that doesn't seem to apply to this state.
The hypocrisy of it is just makes your head explode. It just makes your head explode.
They're always going to target California as being like this blue or like this very hyper-liberal bastion that doesn't represent the rest of American values, but California values are American values. The values of equality, the values of standing up for your neighbor. I think that's what this is all about.
But somewhere in between the political posturing and legal maneuvers of leaders stands this city and those simply willing to keep marching and shouting for their rights and the nation that they love.
They can have their Twitter fights, but these people are in the streets. These are people getting tear gas, and these are the people getting arrested.
I grew up in America, and I want America. I want America back.
And that's really what so many people were saying here, is that they want the democracy that they have known to come and love to return to this particular city. Now, taking another live look out there, what you see over there in the distance about a block or so away, that is the mounted unit. Now, you may recall maybe an hour or so ago, they were pushing the crowd in that direction down Main Street. We were concerned about it because that is where, in fact, there's a lot of businesses, there's a lot of restaurants in that direction, and you can bet they are trying to now get those people to come back into a different area, as this is just basically a game of chess, right? You have these agitators that have continued to stay despite the fact that this protest ended many, many hours ago, and you have the police department trying to disperse them, and so it's a game of chess going back and forth. Yes. Oh my goodness. Did you get some of the chemical? Yeah, so did we. Hang in there. Go home. Be safe.
I just feel like they should let more people know. I mean,
Yes, no, we've been talking about it. You guys hang in there. Thank you for being here.
I was kind of outside of the zone.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry you went through that. Hang in there. And so you can hear a lot of that as a lot of people who have still stayed down here did have to deal with those chemical irritants as they were putting them out into the crowds, trying to get the crowd to move. But again, it is an unlawful assembly. If you do not need to be downtown, it is time to go home. I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, that is what law enforcement is asking people to just leave this area now that it is an unlawful assembly. Joy Benedict, thank you so much. As she mentioned, she's been there since 8:30. You just heard from a host of people that were peacefully protesting for hours during this No Kings protest. 2,000 of these happening nationally, many of them happening in our very own communities, all the way down to South Orange County, up to Ventura County. And at some point, this downtown area near City Hall, right around 4:30, Gio, it took a turn.
Yeah, and
law enforcement started moving in, using their tactics, and then they were saying that some of these protesters were using things like rocks, glass, fireworks to throw at law enforcement.
And at some point, you know, we have seen the movement of law enforcement sort of, you know, go in these flows of sudden bursts, you know, using those less than lethals and pushing the crowds out. And we've seen that actually work to, say, pretty successfully now, especially as you get those crowds moving. People have, you know, sort of scattered all over the place, and now you see a heavy contingent of law enforcement all over the place. On that, we want to get to our Tom Wade, who's down there in downtown LA, and it looks like you're still in the park there. Tom, what are you seeing right now?
So we are just in front of City Hall by North Broadway, and you can see the plaza just in front of City Hall, which is Gloria Molina Plaza, is much emptier than it was before, and you can see a very large police presence right outside of City Hall. It's now the barriers that are down there, those were moved by people in the crowd, so it's not clear what the purpose of that was, or, you know, there are officers that are just behind us, just on the stairs as you go up to the north, toward, I think, Dorothy Chandler Pavilion's up there, but that's kind of that direction over that you're looking at right now. But City Hall is the area here. This was, as Leslie and Gio, you were just saying, just a short time ago, the scene of a lot of, you know, loud confrontations between police and the protesters that are lingering here. You saw flashbangs going off, less than lethal tools being used. I also saw some fireworks being shot from the crowd as well. And so there's just a mix of a lot of different sort of chaotic things that were happening all at once. But right now, a lull in the action, and that is likely because police may be bringing in more people to flush more and more people out of this area to completely break up this crowd, and they've been doing that pretty methodically. Again, all of this happening in just a few blocks of a corner of a pocket of downtown LA. If you walk anywhere 2-3 blocks from here, you would have no idea any of this is even happening. It's very remarkable. Lots of drama here, but if you go pretty much anywhere else in LA outside this, I don't know, 7-8 blocks, 6-7-8 blocks, you would not know there's, you know, this sort of chaotic scene playing out.
Yeah, Tom, it looks like so much more law enforcement at this hour where you are than protesters. It looks like they've now been pushed outside of Grand Park there. And you're right, this is that ebb and flow we continue to see. Things heighten, and then all of a sudden for some minutes they will quiet down for just a bit. And that's just kind of what we've seen the last few days, really.
And let's get back out to our Zach Boetto, who's also not too far from Tom, giving us a different perspective of things. You see the sheriff's deputies behind you, Zach. What else are you seeing?
Well, Gio, Leslie, for people who don't know this area, we're on the steps of City Hall, and Tom Wade is just over here to our left at Gloria Molina Grand Park. That's where he was just talking to you from. You can see sheriff's deputies and LAPD officers trying to get protesters back that way. But if you look in the distance, as Tom mentioned, there are LAPD officers also on the steps there behind Broadway, looking like they're starting to block protesters in Gloria Molina Grand Park. And this is really interesting because Mayor Karen Bass was here with lawmakers, local lawmakers, this week here at City Hall and at Molina Grand Park, telling people to peacefully protest. They don't want things to turn violent, yet here we are, and the peaceful protests have turned less than such, and now it looks like deputies and police officers are starting to block in protesters at Gloria Molina Grand Park. If we turn here to our left, you can see LA Sheriff's deputies again here on Spring Street pushing protesters toward First Street. But here's the thing, there's LAPD officers on First Street now trying to push protesters back here on Spring toward Temple. So they're starting to push the protesters back in. Again, we know this is an unlawful assembly. They've ordered these people to disperse, but they have not. We have sheriff's deputies here with us on the LA City Council, LA City Hall steps. And then over here to our left, there's more deputies and more LAPD officers looking over those protesters as well. But here in the last 15 minutes, I've started to notice that law enforcement officers are now encircling this group of protesters, and it looks like here we go, moving in again. Here comes some more less than lethals. I'll just let the Nat sound kind of take over here. Just listen to this. And now we're seeing protesters run up Gloria Molina Grand Park past this green building here at the park, and they're kind of running back toward that corner. You can see them under the trees there, and I'm not sure if they're able to get past officers who are standing there on Broadway, but it looks like they're trying to go that direction and try to get out of the area now that deputies again are firing some of these flashbangs to try to push them down Spring Street. They're going west down Spring Street. We still have protesters who are deciding to hang out here at Gloria Molina Grand Park, but law enforcement is trying to now move these protesters. There's a lot of graffiti all over the park here, this Gloria Molina Grand Park, which has just recently been upgraded here, and now there's graffiti all over it, all over City Hall here in LA, and there are stickers and posters and deputies, again, using those less lethals, pushing protesters down Spring towards First Street. Guys, and really, it's continued to be a hectic scene as we talked about the ebbs and flows here for this No King's Day rally, which turned into a peaceful protest, which has now turned into a protest that has fireworks, has tear gas, has flashbangs, and those pepper balls that are being shot at protesters, guys.
Yeah. Zach, yeah, this is a repeated cycle we're seeing right now through the streets of near City Hall. Is that if you heard while Zach was speaking, there was that unlawful assembly being declared. The speaker, you could hear them, law enforcement declaring that, and then the moment that ends, they then start to move in. They deploy the less than lethal. They deploy the gases as well, and then they clear that area and continue to move forward.
You're starting to see fewer and fewer protesters just sort of scattered around based on our live shots, and a lot more officers on the left side of your screen as well as the right side of your screen. When we can, we want to check back in with Joy Benedict, who's not too far from where Zach is, from where Tom is. You know, we're all monitoring the situation down there.
I'm here whenever.
In downtown. Joy, what are you seeing right now?
Well, as you saw, all the protesters were pushed from that side of the park over to this side. This is right in front of the Los Angeles Police Department on Main and First Street. What they are doing is they're trying to corral them here in the middle, and they're about to start detaining them. We saw the Los Angeles Police Department show up, and with dozens of people. They have basically, you know, the plastic zip ties that they use to detain people, and I can bet you that's what they're about to do over here on this corner. This is Spring and First Street is where we're walking towards. And so at this point, they have basically all four corners of the intersection roped off to people. And so you can tell that they're going to start detaining people here in this area. So That's what they're about to start doing. They're trying to prevent more protesters from coming into this intersection so that they can, in fact, detain them. This has been declared an unlawful assembly. It was declared an unlawful assembly quite a while ago, and so they have been slowly moving the protesters into the same location in hopes of being able to detain them and get those who aren't dispersed into custody of some kind. Now, if you look over there, you can see some folks are trying to hop that fence. You see they're trying to hop that fence into that area that's been fenced off for quite some time. So they're trying to do that to try and escape everything that is going on right here, as they obviously don't want to be arrested or even detained for that matter. But this is all just the Los Angeles Police Department, as we've been talking about, playing this game of chess as they're trying to alienate the agitators, the ones that sometimes come here strictly to get arrested, away from the protesters who continue to be lingering behind what was a very peaceful day. So you do have a few of those, and then you have the agitators. It's the agitators that they're trying to arrest, the ones that are throwing things at the officers that have come here simply to be difficult. And we know who they are, and I think I can make that assumption very clearly by some of the actions that you've seen. They've come with that stuff. If you look over to the right-hand side, they're trying to get us to push back a little bit. If you look over to the right-hand side, that's where the Sheriff's Department is. So they're asking us all to stay back a little bit. Obviously, it's hard for the police department when you have this many people to determine who's the media, who's not the media. So we're all just going to hang back a little bit and let them do their job that they are trained to do, which is try and detain some of these agitators that have been causing problems for a couple of hours now. And you know, we have seen so many problems this week. We had multiple businesses that were vandalized. We have graffiti all over downtown. It has been a lot of difficult situations for folks who live, work, and have businesses here in this community. And so they are doing their best to make sure that doesn't happen again tonight. We are an hour and a half away from the curfew that was enacted several days ago. So we already have an unlawful assembly. At that point, we're going to have a curfew.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail, the ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way, offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It was so heart-stopping earlier in the week when we saw firecrackers being shown at the Los Angeles Police Department horses. We certainly don't want to see anything like that happen again. And so they are really trying to use what I like to call controlled chaos, as the police department knows exactly what they're doing right now, and that is trying to get this crowd to disperse.
Joy Benedict, we will check in with you here, but we want to say goodbye to our viewers on Channel 2. Continue our coverage on Channel 9.
And as we continue that coverage, Joy, you made a good point earlier about how, a lot of this is trying to move the crowds that have gotten together here, but not push them to the point of getting into the business district or anywhere where they could cause even more mayhem. That's been obviously a concern of law enforcement and local leaders throughout the week, and of course business owners as well. And now, in terms of cornering off here, I mean, we were just looking at the folks climbing over that fence. It really does seem like law enforcement has, upped the ante a little bit here and started to really do their best to corral everyone and overwhelm anybody who's still lingering in that area.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what they're doing. You said it right. I call it controlled chaos, because on the ground it may look a little chaotic. People running, flashbangs, smoke, the irritants, the gas irritants that go into the air that pepper your eyes and make your eyes water, but they know exactly what they're doing. They are trained for this. They have planned for this. They have had a plan all day long. They probably knew the exact time they were going to start moving everybody back. And once we reached that time, well, they did exactly what they are trained to do, which is try and corral this crowd into an area that they feel is the safest for the ones that are refusing to leave. So folks have had plenty of notice now. We're going on 2 hours that they've started to disperse this crowd. So you have had had time to get to your car, and now they are going to start detaining people who are refusing to do so. And that's what you're going to start seeing here. We've seen it every night for the last few nights, so it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone who's watching. But I also want to point out, this is a small area of downtown. LA Live, you're not going to see any of this. Over in the business district, you're not going to see any of this. If you are not near this government area over here where the police department is and City Hall is, you're not going to see that there's any problems going on downtown. And I guess that's what we want, right?
Yeah.
So we are focusing a lot right now. We have a lot of staff and reporters here in this particular area, but the rest of downtown is running as smoothly and as expected on a Saturday night.
Joy Benedict reporting live for us. We'll check in with you in just a moment, but we do have Sheriff Robert Luna on the line with us. Sheriff Luna, this is Leslie you're speaking to, and Gio, can you hear me?
Leslie and Gio, good to be on with you.
So we know right around 4:30 things took a turn. All day things had been peaceful since about 8:30 a.m. What happened?
You're exactly right. The entire day was very peaceful. You had a lot of folks out, families, dogs. I mean, everybody was doing great until about 4-ish, right before 4, right after 4. You started getting these individuals, these agitators who started to attack police officers. And as always, police will always give an announcement, and people, individuals, not the whole group, obviously went a different direction. And that's what you see now, which I think is very sad, because it wasn't reflective of the great people who were out here peacefully demonstrating and protesting. That's, what we're all about. It's these individual agitators who come here with their intent to commit acts of violence on deputy sheriffs, police officers, and destroy property.
You mentioned, Sheriff Luna, that attacks on officers and deputies is absolutely something that will not be tolerated, not to mention violence against buildings, against other people as well. And then, of course, there are deputies and LAPD officers that have been shy about detaining and arresting folks over the last few days and over the past week. I doubt there are numbers, but what is the plan in terms of addressing this current situation as we approach the curfew, which is when we tend to see things sort of start, quote unquote, calming down a little bit?
Yeah, so first of all, we're in unified command with the LAPD and the California Highway Patrol. What that basically means is we are collectively making decisions, but LAPD is in the lead because it's happening in this square mile area inside the city of Los Angeles. So they will be making specific decisions. We will be assisting them as the Sheriff's Department and CHP to make sure that we clear out the area to make it safe so that we can try and bring everything back to normal. And realistically, in the process, try and arrest as many people, not that we're protesting and demonstrating. I think I've laid that out very clear, that there's a very clear distinction. It's arresting the individuals that are causing the problems, the ones attacking officers and involved in the destruction of property.
Yeah, and you.
If you're looking for the sauce, I got the recipe.
Hello, fly chick coming through. Nice to meet you, glad you came too. That's right, don't believe the hype. You better than me, you know that ain't right. Clock in, your shift done. Bye-bye up top, but no, you don't get no high five. If you're looking for the sauce, I got the recipe. If you're looking for the sauce, I got the recipe.
No, that's enough. All right, I got that. That was my tool.
Denny and Chip are best buds. They bond over car repairs on a fairly regular basis. And even though they have a lot of their own tools, every once in a while they do tackle a job that requires a tool they don't have. That's where O'Reilly Auto Parts free loaner tools come in. We have over 80 tools you may only need once in a great while, from ball joint presses to slide hammers, circuit testers, even vacuum pumps. Looking for this?
Yeah.
Just bring it back when you're done and we'll return your deposit. Hey now, let's share.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Community that's protesting and our deputies and police officers that are on the front line. we're very sensitive to it. But we should all stand together and come out strong and say, hey, these individuals that are just creating this chaos through criminal activity is 100% unacceptable.
And it sounds like it's worth repeating as well, because obviously speaking to that fear and anxiety when you're looking and watching, from home or from elsewhere, and you see all of this heavy activity, you see hundreds of sheriff's deputies, of LAPD officers, of CHP, all congregated in downtown, it could seem to paint the picture that this is happening everywhere else as well. But it sounds like you're making it clear once again, as you have before, that this is just isolated to one particular area, that the rest of Southern California, for the most part, really, it can go about their days as normal, that this is just really isolated to, a few agitators that are wanting to make a scene, and that you guys are handling it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. About a 1 square mile area. It's been the same area every night. The target seems to be that federal complex right adjacent to the 101 freeway. And just so the viewers know, we have handled other protests, not only this week, but throughout today. In other parts of LA County, we're monitoring other protests in adjacent counties. To date, and that could change as it gets dark, almost all of them have been peaceful, which is what we want to see. That is what gives that strong, or gets that strong message across. So our goal is to assist the LAPD. I give a lot of kudos to Chief Jim McDonnell and the LAPD. I think they've been doing a great job. Our coordinated efforts with them and other law enforcement agencies, people are saying they've never seen it better than it is right now. I agree with that. And we're constantly communicating with other law enforcement agencies here in Los Angeles County, the other 44 agencies. I'm communicating with sheriffs, all my neighbor sheriffs, and just making sure that we're okay. And then it's like, hey, if I'm not affected, I'm a resource to you. I'm ready to come in and help. And we have a lot of people in ready, reserved, staged, ready to go. I'm praying we don't need one of them. I'm hoping that we're able to bring everything in this small area back to normal here real soon.
And I just want to talk about some of the resources that you may have there in downtown, because we know there's the special response team, correct? Do you also have the booking team out there? And then when we're seeing some of this less than lethal being deployed, can you talk to us just about what the Sheriff's Department there deploys?
Without getting into specifics about exact deployment, I can tell your viewers this. The only time our deputy sheriffs are utilizing that less lethal weapon is when they are being attacked or others are being attacked. They're not just using it indiscriminately. If you sometimes the video doesn't show it, but you have individuals launching the craziest things at them. From pyrotechnics to Molotov cocktails, almost anything you can think of. And a lot of these groups are actually bringing, for example, these long pipes where they're launching pyrotechnics at our folks. That is dangerous. That's an assault with a deadly weapon. That's a felony. So that becomes important. So less lethal-wise, that was it. And I'm sorry, that first part of the question again?
What resources do you have out there? I know the special response team may be out there already, correct?
Yes, our sheriff's response team is out there. The other question you asked about is our sheriff's booking teams. Yes, they are out there deployed. They are assisting not only our agency, but CHP and LAPD. So just, again, a word of the wise to the people out there who are refusing to disperse after an unlawful assembly was called. High likelihood you're going to be arrested. We have the resources in place. And honestly, it's going to ruin your night because you're going to get booked. When you get booked, you're going to potentially probably get charged, because I've talked to DA Hochman, and he's not messing around with this, and it's going to cost you money, time, and effort. It's not worth it. Go home for tonight. Let us clean this area out, and hopefully our peaceful protesters will come out tomorrow again to send that positive message they've been trying to send. If your viewers look at a lot of what is happening on your TV screens now, these are people who are refusing to leave. A lot of them have masks on. A lot of them have umbrellas on or umbrellas out, which are used to propel a lot of our less lethal munitions. They are equipped to fight the police. That is not acceptable. That's something we have to deal with, and that's what you see us as the LA County Sheriff's Department, CHP, and the LAPD doing right now.
LA County Sheriff Robert Luna, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time. We certainly appreciate it this evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
And yeah, we just heard from Sheriff Luna there, and you heard him say, you know, they're going to continue to assist LAPD. Yeah. They're going to continue to tell this group to go home. If not, you will be arrested. He said it will be a bad night because the DA, Nathan Hochman, is pressing charges depending on the violence that some of these protesters are alleged to have used. Also, if you stay, you know, this is an unlawful assembly, so you're breaking the law in that regard. But this, again, happening in a small section of downtown Los Angeles, near the Civic Center area. I believe what we're looking at maybe closer to LAPD here, or I know we're on Broadway here. Yeah. Can't make out the other street we're on. But again, this is near the Civic Center area, near City Hall. We're talking LAPD Metro headquarters. They've been able to keep protesters away from the federal building where we know the National Guard has been staged. But this all coming after hours and hours of very peaceful protests.
You see video there.
By people at the No Kings March.
Yep.
Yeah, you just saw someone being taken away. It looks like that they were being helped by law enforcement. Couldn't make out who they were, but they were limping.
And you see here on First and Second, just up First and Second. I know Mark Lou's at the desk keeping an eye on things as well. As you take a look at this video here, someone seemingly hurt, maybe a rolled ankle or such. At least that's what it kind of looked like from our perspective. Obviously, Mark, we've seen, I mean, just in the last hour, really, the emphasis by law enforcement of getting in there and pushing the crowds out. And it really seems like they have an upper hand on this in terms of getting folks dispersed. Just the sheer number of sheriff's deputies and officers is a lot right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So there's a couple of things that have come up in the last about 40 minutes or so. I've been listening to the radio traffic here, the unified command between LAPD and the LA County Sheriff's Department, and also that great interview with Sheriff Luna. So they have determined that the exit route for all protesters will now be to the south. They will no longer be pushing people to the west or to the east. The primary exit route for all protesters is to go to the south. The second thing, to your point, Gio, is we have seen a general dispersal of protesters to the south, to the west, and that's good news except for the fact that now the perimeter that LAPD and LA County sheriffs have to maintain is getting larger and larger. And there are some concerns that around the edges of this perimeter that they are seeing some protesters try to double back and get behind police lines. Now, if our director can come out to my screen, I'm going to show you on the map where this is happening. It still continues to be in the far northeast corner of downtown LA. And if we have that ability, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in and show you this map here. So what we are seeing here, the first major landmark that I want to talk about here is LA City Hall. Now that has been a source of a lot of the protesters' targets today. We've seen them go down this direction. There was pepper spray here and here. Those protesters then went down in this direction. Now what we're seeing here now is a large majority of protesters went to the west through Grant Park and then down this way. And then we also saw protesters go to the south here. Now, the problem was at 2nd and Broadway and 1st and Broadway. These two locations is where we had some more rocks and bottles issues. And that's where we now see skirmish lines in the form of here and also over here. So the other thing that LAPD is concerned about, is I'm going to zoom in right here, is this. This is the Grand Central Civic Center Grand Park Metro Station. Now, they were concerned that it's been running this whole time, and they actually had people coming off the Metro heading into the protest, right into the middle of pepper balls and flashbangs. So they have asked Metro to actually shut down the Civic Center Grand Park Station for now. Now, our last camera shot that we had was looking this direction. So we know that there are protesters in this area, and they are trying to push them to the south. That is the corridor that LAPD wants all of these protesters to go. But looking at this here, you're going to see at first they just had to monitor the perimeter here. Now the perimeter is in this area. Then they're going to have to worry about all of that. So this is why they're worried about stretching their officers and deputies thin. They want to continue to tell these protesters to please disperse the area and head to the south. And hopefully this can end peacefully as we head closer and closer to the curfew, which is going to take place right in this area in about an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, and you're looking at that crowd, Gio, and you can make out that it is maybe close to 100 people, maybe give or take. Not as big as we've definitely seen in the past, definitely thinning out. But at this point, LAPD continues to tell us, and you heard from the sheriff, that there are a few agitators in this group that remains that continue to throw fireworks at officers, concrete at officers, just glass. So the situation still remains one where law enforcement is going to continue for an unlawful assembly, use less lethal. The sheriff said that his department will not use less lethal unless they are being attacked.
And that's going to be the interesting thing to see as we start to approach that curfew hour, because what we've noticed in this when the curfew was first instituted, and then we were keeping an eye on downtown from the 8 o'clock hour and then into the rest of the evening, I mean, crowds really started to dissipate. Now, granted, on the one hand, those are weeknights, those are school nights, work nights, etc. As you take a live look there on the left side of your screen, another row or collection of LAPD officers moving seemingly toward that crowd. This is the largest congregation that we're keeping on at the moment, it seems, with the number of flags and banners. So then on the other hand, it comes to the point of seeing how this turns into a weekend, because we know certainly people have more time. It's a Saturday night as opposed to a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, Thursday night. So there's that on top of the fact that we've seen such an outward push by LAPD, by sheriff's deputies, by law enforcement here in downtown with vehicles as well. I mean, it's not just officers in their tactical gear. It is vehicles directly behind them. It's the mounted unit as well. I mean, there has been no shortage of officers pushing these crowds out and using those less than lethals to clear them out from locations. But to Mark's point, then you start getting into a situation where the perimeter becomes a little bit more difficult to maintain, and perhaps folks are circling back. So the hope there is that people finally get the message and start dispersing, and then the thinning out then really starts to settle the crowd down. But that is going to be the number one thing we keep an eye on in this next hour and 10 minutes as we get to the 8 o'clock curfew, when things start getting dark, because then, of course, going back to our earlier notes, is that when things get dark, that's when certain situations start to escalate, as right now you see another group of LAPD officers start to have some pep in their step and move toward, looks like the crowd. I'm trying to get a marker there, but no shortage. I mean, that's First Street there. No shortage of officers at all. I mean, they certainly outnumber protesters by a heavy amount at this moment in downtown LA.
Yeah, at least that's how we're viewing it from our vantage point here. But yeah, that is an army of LAPD officers who have been preparing for this for several days. Not only have many been engaged in situations like this for the last week, but we know LAPD now in unified command with CHP as well as the Sheriff's Department all working together right now. LAPD, the lead agency on this, but take a look, you can just make out all the media, and then you have just like an army of LAPD officers. And in front of them, there are still some of these protesters who have decided to linger around. You can see many of the people on the front lines here holding up signs and pushing back as LAPD and officials are pushing forward.
Yeah, and even though you're not seeing, based on this camera view right now, these protesters really engaging with officers in the sense of throwing things at them, Joy, it is worth mentioning again, this unlawful assembly has been declared, so these folks are being told to leave right now. Your First Amendment right to protest in this case does not apply. They're going to push them out one way or the other.
Yeah, that's right. We are live here with the police department as they are trying to push people back. We're on First Street, or I should say just west of First and Broadway right now. And so they've been allowing us to get closer and closer every time that they move. In front of about the I'd say 50 or so, maybe up to 100 officers in front of us, are a small group of protesters, and those are the ones they're trying to corner together that they will be detaining if they do not find a way out of this situation. It does not appear that in the distance, once we get further down, there's any other line. So if they continue to move and disperse, they may not get arrested. But again, this is all part of the process. Yes, we've been talking about for quite some time. What's behind us? I'm sorry. Oh, I see. They're bringing some more officers in from the left-hand side. We just want to make sure that they get us through. So they were telling us to pause for a second. But they're basically allowing us to be on the sidewalk as they are advancing forward, trying to disperse the crowd in what I like to call the game of chess, as they're trying to get everyone to disperse. It's a little bit of what I like to also refer to as organized chaos, because although it may look a little chaotic for the protesters and the demonstrators who have been out here, this is a very well-planned and now executed attempt to disperse the crowd once things became unruly. We've been talking about the time frames. It is almost 7 o'clock. That means we are an hour away from what is be considered curfew, and we are already into an unlawful assembly that has been declared here in the area. So from where we are standing on the Broadway and First area, as we have been moving from City Hall to this area, then that is what you are seeing. It's just a waiting game at this point, who's going to leave and who's going to stick around to get arrested, as many people are doing this just simply because they know that's coming and they want that to be their mark on history. That's what we see every time we have demonstrations like this. We have a lot of very passionate people. You also have a lot of people who are just simply here to be agitators and cause some problems. So you see a mix of that at this stage of the day, after what has been a very long day of demonstrating, most of it very, very peaceful. We went from 8:30 to about 4:30 this afternoon with not even an issue. So that is 8 hours of not even an issue, of 25,000 people here downtown following the laws, doing what they're supposed to do. And it was really a festival and a very light-hearted a day for so many families, people of all generations who came in here to let their voices be heard and express their concerns with so many things going on, not only here in Los Angeles, but with the current administration in the White House, and things that are the battleground between the Reds and the Blues, and sort of California being stuck in the middle. But now what you're seeing is the other group. At around 4:30, for those who are just joining us right now, that's when we first saw the National Guard start to push demonstrators away from the Federal Building as they were working their way at the end of the protest from City Hall to the Federal Building. So the National Guard started moving them back. Then you had the Los Angeles Police Department with their mounted unit that came, also starting to push things back. Once the officers felt that things were being thrown at them, that is when they started using those less than lethal tactics that we discussed. Those are the things that you saw with the flashbangs and the chemicals that they were putting in the air. The Sheriff's Department says it's not tear gas, but more of a chemical irritant, as they don't use tear gas anymore. So they used that. They also used the smoke bombs that you could see as they were trying to get folks to disperse, and you continue to see some agitators throwing things at the officers. Then you also had the Sheriff's Department that were using, you can see the police department have them as well, the green straps. Those are the less than lethal rubber bullets, as we like who are not going with the crowd. And so we've been seeing a lot of that throughout the evening since this all started, becoming a little bit more heightened maybe 2.5 hours ago or so. And look at this long line of police cars that are following the officers on foot, just to make sure. This is another tactic, right? The police cars are here to make sure that if the crowd gets past the officers, one, they have extra backup, and then also it's harder to get through all of these vehicles. As we continue to move forward, you can also hear some of the chanting of the folks that simply don't want to go. And as I said, many people are here simply to get detained. They are here simply to get arrested. This is part of the plan. If they wanted to leave by now, they have had several hours to do so peacefully. So this is a choice. I'll send it back to you guys.
Joy Benedict, live in downtown LA. Joy, thank you. Yeah, even just in the midst of our live shot there, you can see the deliberate nature with which LAPD is moving forward. And you know, we always go back to what we can see, and judging by their body language, it just seems, you know, it's obviously intentional, it's deliberate, but it's not, you know, necessarily aggressive in this particular moment right here. It's just moving this crowd out.
Continue this routine of letting people know this is an unlawful assembly. We're going to continue moving forward. And as Mark Liu was telling us, their plan is really to continue to move people to the south and give them that exit route. We're going to continue our coverage here on KCAL until about 7 p.m. So I do want to turn it over to Mark Liu. If you're monitoring anything that we should know for our viewers as we head, you know, closer to this curfew, but also I've been monitoring this protest here for the last 2 hours now.
Yeah, it looks like LAPD and LA County sheriffs have formulated a pretty strict plan to continue the kind of action that we are seeing right here in front of us. Now we are as far south as 2nd Street, as Broadway. They continue to move south. Looking here, the action has moved from the area of City Hall, which is the landmark I want to show you here in downtown LA, down these corridors of Broadway and Main. We saw a big dispersal here. These groups have gone in this direction, so that's good news for the eastern side of this protest. And then we saw these groups that are now heading to the south here along Broadway, and now we are even here approaching 2nd Street. So we continue to see a motion towards the southern part of downtown LA as elements of LAPD and the LA County Sheriffs continue to move in that southbound direction. This is also really good news for any sort of concerns that law enforcement had along the 101, as they had blocking forces here at Broadway, Main, and Los Angeles. They did not want people going on the freeway. But as this curfew rapidly approaches, 1 hour to go, everyone here who is in the southbound direction from Broadway and Main, Los Angeles, and even Hill Street, they are going to have to find a way out through the southern part, through this commercial area of downtown LA. And there are opportunities there to disperse. Certainly there are places that they could go from out into that direction. But right now we continue to see LAPD use these pepper spray balls and these flashbangs in order to get people to continue to move to the south. That is the direction of exit that they want these protesters to disperse tonight.
It's just before 10 o'clock, and we're live from Atlanta with continuing coverage of breaking news and severe weather on your Saturday evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm David Dutton in the Channel One America Command Center here in Atlanta, and we're following. There is a lot going on tonight where we have protests across the country, the No King protest. We had a military parade today in D.C., went off with a bang, no problems there. We have had a shooting in Maryland with some senators there, 2 dead, 2 injured, senator and his wife, and another senator and his wife. There was also a target toward Waltz, governor, which is also Kamala Harris's vice president pick back in the last election. And actually several other senators and congressmen were on a list by 57-year-old that is police are looking for at this hour. We're also following the very latest on the conflict with and the war, you might as well say, with Israel and Iran at this hour, where we understand Tehran, Iran is on fire at this hour as a barrage of missiles continue to hit that area. And the very latest is there is a huge fire to use
out and shine on.
They're doing the weather at the moment, and we'll go back to them in just a second for a thunderstorm warnings in Georgia tonight. And so apparently everything decided to die at one time. If you'll give me a moment, we'll bring everything back up. This is continuing coverage of breaking news and severe weather on Channel 1 America. Stay with us. We do want to tell you just this in, we have a tornado warning now in Virginia for Orange and Spotsylvania counties. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 13 miles northwest of Spotsylvania or 14 miles west of Fredericksburg, moved to the southeast at 10 miles per hour. Again, a new tornado warning has been in Spotsylvania County for 3 minutes. So unfortunately, we're having some major technical difficulties with the broadcast right now. We're going to stop our broadcast. Be right back with you momentarily. Continuing breaking news tonight, all night long, live here on Channel 1 America. Please stay with us.